Hello, rovers and rascals. My name is TBSkine, and, well, I've already thrown my hat in the ring with champion speculation with the Yone video I did a while back, so let's do a little bit of follow-up on that, and take a look at the champion roadmap that Riot recently published. Now, this is a post from Riot Reeve, or Reeve3, depending on how he wants you to pronounce that, who is the lead champion producer? I think that's his job title at Riot. Specifically, he's the dude who's the point man for all of the stuff that's related to champion updates and new champion creation and stuff, like the guy who does the public communication for that stuff. And the first thing that they talk about in this particular post is something about the way that Riot is approaching visual updates for champions right now. Specifically, that they're going to be deprioritizing them for 2020, feeling as they do that since they've updated 12 champions since 2018, which good work, they feel like they've gotten through most of the champions in critical need of a VGU. Now, to be fair, when Riot says that they've done most of the champions in critical need of a VGU, what they're talking about there is not just the visual, lore, aesthetic, animation, character model, design part of the champion. They're also talking about the G, like the G part of the VGU, which is the gameplay. So, champions like Nunu being a good example, who were trash. Like, I think we can agree that old Nunu was hot garbage, and it was kind of important that he be removed from the game and replaced with something substantially better. So that's why Nunu was a critical priority when it comes to creating a VGU, and a champion like Corki or Lulu, who still have relatively healthy gameplay patterns that certainly Riot seem to feel are still a positive addition to the game, aren't on such a high top priority list in the game because, well, they still work just fine, and even though their visuals are painfully outdated, that doesn't really put them on top of the priority list, which, fair enough. I guess League of Legends is technically a video game and not just a lore and aesthetic IP for me to talk about. It's actually also a game that people have to play, so I guess they have to make considerations for that stuff as well. Sure, why not? I guess. So fair enough to that one. I personally feel that League of Legends, like, just for the health of the IP, needs substantially more updates, especially for old champions, but I'm also not bothering to consider League of Legends as a video game in my particular version of that calculation. Anyway, besides that bunch of business nonsense that I'm not very interested in, let's move on to the actual champion teasers. And this image right here is the one that convinced me that, yeah, it's Yone. Like, the champion that I predicted is going to be Yone is definitely going to be Yone. Yone? It's gonna be Yasuo's brother. Specifically, so this is a little bit wonky, but you have this folding screen with a lovely painting of Ione on the background. Okay, cool, Ione. We have this tatami mat background. Okay, Ionia. Definitely 110% we're in Ionia. Then we have these two pillows, which is the kind of thing of like, okay, so this is a teaser for not this champion, but this guy right here. And this champion, a part of his aesthetic, a part of his narrative, a part of his story, is not just him, the one person, but him and someone. This, like, these two pillows being empty are the signs of absence of two people. So there's a relationship at play here, which means the champion's going to be released. A central part of who he is having a relationship with someone else who is also missing. Yasuo left his... Like that kind of thinking is what goes on in my deranged brain when I see an image like this, and I go, yes, no, like, combined with all the other clues, definitely the masked assassin dude is going to be Yone. Which leads us on to the one I don't actually know exactly how to think about, which is the dreams of a new jungler, who is this whimsical Faun champion, apparently, that Riot are releasing. Jungle mains have been longing for a new champion for a while now, and it just so happens that we've got one blooming soon. In the last update, I told you we couldn't decide if we wanted the new jungler to be an assassin or a skirmisher, but the dream dust has settled, and behind it was a mid-range skirmisher frolicking in and out of the fray. Now, I have to say it this way. Apologies to Reeve, but I have to say it this way, because every time you drop those little teasers and hints and puns and stuff like that, I can't help but imagine the people who wrote this text sitting in the writer's room being really pleased with themselves about how hard they're teasing it in ways that we can't possibly parse accurately. Like, there has to be a smuck voice there. I shouldn't say anything else, but maybe, possibly we can find her instead. Be very quiet, though. She can be quite shy, and if we startle her, she may prance into action, darting off as our vision starts to get blurry and hazy. The world around us is becoming slow. No, we have to stay awake, but it's so warm and safe, must sleep. So the one thing being teased here is that we're getting another champion besides Zoe who can cause sleep on enemies, which is interesting. Is there other champions who can do that? I don't think there are. I think Zoe was the first one with a sleepy trouble bubble. And it's going to be a very hella long range ability, as far as I can tell, because like that's half a lane and then it hits a bit of jungle patch. So, Anyway, we can't really parse a lot of this. Like, I really hope that the teasing they're doing with prancing and frolicking out of the fray and stuff is that they're actually going to do a proper Faun, like in the style of that Legends of Runeterra card, the Green Glade Keeper, an actual Faunus kind of character. That would be lovely. I hope they're not going to do the Nico thing of doing Evastaya, who's like 99.9% human, and then she has like deer ears, and oh, that's a Faun now, because that would just be boring. Anyway, let's get on to, well, it's Yone. It's gonna be Yone, but there's a couple of interesting things about it. Now, first of all, we have this teaser image right here, which when I saw that one, my immediate instinct was to drag it into Photoshop and boost the contrast and the light levels substantially so we could get a somewhat better look at what's going on in the picture. It doesn't tell us much because we can't still see his face because he's wearing a mask. That's like the whole point of him. But it did clarify one interesting thing to me, specifically that one of his eyes is uncovered by the mask he can see through. That's the eye with the red glow. And then one of the eyes is glowing blue, but it's also covered by the mask, which seems to tie into some ideas of duality that are being teased for this particular champion, because as the post goes, where am I? I feel a presence inside me, something dark yet dormant, something I subdued. Is that masked figure in the distance me? I'm holding two weapons. I recognize one of them, and the presence inside me recognizes the other. I temper my rising anger into something cold, like the steel in hand. Suddenly, I feel a spiritual tug from the direction of the masked figure. From me? The tug becomes a yank, and I feel my subconscious pull toward my body, accelerating until I slam into it. Whoa, what just happened? I feel like I just stepped out of another world, or perhaps a tale told long ago? Now that I'm back, let's get back to the roadmap. So, the thing that's being referenced here, and the thing that's being teased from, is the League of Legends story that we covered in my Yone prediction video, called Perennial, where we have an old man character telling a story about two brothers and how they came to blows, and the tragedy of how they ended up like fighting and killing each other, etc. And specifically in that story, the root of the tragedy between the two brothers was found in the spirit realm. There were two spirits, the Collector and the... what was the other one? Something. There's a Collector, and then there's someone who's called something else. And the Collector, I believe, grows jealous of the other, and he forges two swords and plants them in the spirit realm, and then they turn into sword trees in the real world. Two brothers come along, they pick up the tree swords, and then those tree swords, like, put jealousy and obsession into their brains, and that causes them to fight. But another character, hearing the story, objects and says, hang on, that's not how the story goes. It's nothing to do with the spirit realm. It was because the two brothers each, like, melted down one of their father's swords and made two swords, and they grew jealous of each other, and that's why they fought. So the thematic stuff there is that we're dealing with a split between the spirit realm and the physical realm, with the spirit realm being perhaps one source of conflict, and the physical realm being another. And so, given that my continued assumption is that and prediction is that this character is Yone, what we're talking about here is Yone is going to be possessed by something. I don't think it's going to be a Darkin. Like, it's tempting to think so, because we're dealing with a sword that's glowing red in one of the champion teasers, and there's a lot of weapon, like the weapon specifically being possessed by some kind of dark spirit thing going on here. Darkin is a plausibility. It could be some kind of Darkin thing where Yone has found a way to resist the pull of the Darkins, something. I still don't think so, though, because the Darkin originate in Shurima and on Targon. Like, they're the Ascended who then get trapped into weapons, and Varys got retconned into a Darkin. He wasn't originally designed to be one back in the day. That's why he's the only Darkin from Ionia. So I don't think Darkin. I think we're dealing with the spirit realm, and I think we're dealing with some version of a demon. An Ionian demon of some kind, which, like, also makes me feel like, because this stuff right here, this looks Blood Moon-ish to me. Like, it has kind of that aesthetic, and I don't think that means, like, Blood Moon skins are going to become canon or anything, but specifically, I think that it's a hint that what we're dealing with here is Ionian demons of some description or another. In this case, it might be a demon of wrath or a demon of vengeance, something along those lines. Because demons tend to feed on human emotions. That's what Evelyn and Tom Kench and Nocturne and Fiddlesticks all do. So here we might have a demon of wrath, a demon of anger, a demon of vengeance, who has possessed Yone in some way or another, perhaps counterbalanced with some benevolent influence from the spirit realm that's helping him resist the pull of that anger and wrath. And that's why the two swords thing, where like we have one sword firmly rooted in the spirit realm, one sword firmly rooted in the physical realm, and maybe one sword does magic damage and the other does physical damage. That's a speculation about the kit that I'm not really like, who the hell knows, but like that seems to be the kind of thing that they're teasing to me. And that's kind of also like, I argue in my video that Yone maybe shouldn't be a champion, because like, if Yasuo's brother isn't actually dead, then he loses like a lot of the impetus for his character, or at least his character is going to be in need of like dire reformation when it turns out both that he didn't kill the Elder Soma, who he was charged with protecting. It also turns out it wasn't his fault that Elder Soma died, and it turns out it wasn't Riven's fault either, so he doesn't have a conflict with Riven to drive him anymore. He doesn't need to clear his name anymore. All of that stuff is gone from his character, and then if Yone is still alive, it's like, well, okay, so Yasuo didn't actually kill him. And from what it looks like with this stuff is that we're dealing with a kind of undead Yone sort of situation where Yasuo did kill him, but then Yone got possessed by spirit demon something blah blah blah, so he's technically really dead, but then he's also back as a vengeance demon of some kind for whatever reason, which is like, okay, I guess at that point you can still kind of keep the guilt about having killed his brother thing going. Like his title is the Unforgiven, right? You're gonna have to find some reason for him to remain very unforgiven, and for that being unforgivenness to be the core part of his character. And that's why I'm iffy about Yone being the next champion, even though I think he's not the next champion, but the next champion after the jungler, because it causes a whole bunch of, like, it has a lot of ripple effects in terms of what you need to do with Yasuo to still make his lore interesting and compelling, when both of the things that initially caused him to be the Unforgiven are on some level undone in the story. Moving on, since we've discussed my Yone theory now, let's talk about Devil May Cry, because that's what this is. Okay. Do you like to laugh in the face of danger? Do you enjoy stringing together abilities, creating stylish new combos? Does the idea of diving straight into the fray, firing a whirlwind of blades and bullets, and hopping back out with a sliver of health excite you? If you answered yes to any of these questions, then we may be releasing just the champion for you, a new marksman dressed to slay, coming later this year. So, this is a style meter from Devil May Cry. So, okay. And blades and bullets, so we have a champion who's definitely gonna have a sword, they're definitely gonna have some kind of a gun, and they're gonna have some super crazy, stupid, high skill ceiling style of playstyle where they jump in, and if they hit their abilities, then they get a reset, or they get, like, cooldown reduction on a thing so they can keep doing abilities, and then they build up damage boosts, or some kind of health regeneration, probably, from their style meter. Depending on how well they did, they get a bunch of health back, and that makes them completely fucking unkillable in high-level play. And it's Yasuo 2.0 is my worry there. But anyway, Devil May Cry, okay. Like, that could be cool. I really don't want them to make a Dante. Like, I please don't. We have Set, we have Ezreal, we have plenty of League of Legends fuckboys. We don't need another fuckboy. Like, make a fuck lady. Like, it's like, make a super cocky, overconfident lady champion who does swords and bullet stuff and has the Dante attitude. That would be cool, but I don't want, like, a anime pretty boy again, because we've got... Phelios was enough. We're fine. It's okay. Which leads us on to the visual and gameplay update that they announced, which is Mundo, who goes where he pleases, whose voice I really hope they don't change, because it's one of the few League of Legends impressions that I can do, besides Brom. Mundo is getting himself a visual and gameplay update, and my god, does he need it. Holy crap, Mundo is unequivocally one of the most butt-ugly, horrible champions in League of Legends. He's in desperate need of, like, anything that turns him into something other than what he is. So good choice. But it also means that I was wrong. I thought I'd made the assumption that Shyvana was going to be next up, or at least high on the priority list for visual and gameplay updates going forward, specifically because that's what Riot intimated at the end of the poll to pick whether it was going to be Fiddlesticks or Volibear. Riot noted specifically that Shyvana had seen a hell of a lot of interest from certain regions, especially I think China had shown a lot of interest in getting a Shyvana rework, and Riot was like, okay, we'll take that under consideration and advisement, which to me was like, okay, she's going to be high on the priority list. She might be the next one. But no, turns out that they had Mundo in mind for that one. I still think Shyvana is probably going to be on the priority list, like given that Riot prides themselves on being such a data-driven company, and they have a bunch of data saying, hey, please do the Shyvana thing, we would really like that. So I would not be surprised to see Shyvana coming along later, but Mundo is the next one, and God in heaven, good, because he's such a joke. Like, that's kind of the problem with Mundo, is that his entire character premise, everything about him, is a joke, and a joke that's not to be taken seriously on any meaningful axis. Now, they've tried a few things with Mundo's lore, about, like, trying to make him a thing of, like, he's sort of a perversion of science personified. He is, like, he's both a Frankenstein and a Frankenstein's monster, Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, all rolled up into one completely deranged, comedy, lunatic, scientific monstrosity that haunts the streets of Faun. Which, like, but the thing about his character design is that he looks like the Purple Hulk. Like, he is the Hulk. He is just a ripoff of the Hulk, who carries around a meat cleaver for unspecific reasons and has a giant syringe stuck into his back because of something. And he's very much a reflection of the early days of League of Legends, where it wasn't really about creating compelling characters and narratives. It was about, hey, let's grab some fun archetypes and throw them all in a video game and have them fight. It was like more of a Super Smash Brothers vibe in a lot of ways. And so, good that they're giving him some kind of an update, because Mundo is one of the few champions who has an explicit sexual connection in, like, his ability names. He's a sadist and a masochist. That's in his ability names. Like, he feels pain as pleasure, and he enjoys inflicting pain on others because he thinks that's going to cause pleasure to them as well. I'd like them to take that away, or else, because, like, first of all, because Evelyn is kind of the champion who does that, or else really play very hard into it. But we'll see more about Mundo's rework sometime next week, when they're putting out a dev blog with some early art explorations and zara. They're also apparently planning another Choose a VGU poll for the end, or for some time this year, and I wonder if Shyvana is going to be included on that one as well. I guess we'll see. Anyway, if you have enjoyed this unstructured ramble about some of the champions that might be coming to League of Legends or not, who knows? Not really, I don't know. Feel free to hit the like, comment, and or subscribe buttons down below. That is all very helpful, because numbers go up, YouTube algorithm happy, that make good because of things and reasons numbers. Outside of that, I have a Patreon, a merchandise store, and a tip jar. If you want to use them, then you should feel free to do so, and if not, that's completely okay as well. I try to encourage people to, generally speaking, support content that they love with direct contributions when they can, because those direct contributions, even a bit of pocket change, $1 a month, can mean literally the same as thousands of views on a video. So whether it's me or someone else, if there's online content that you really enjoy, try to support it directly. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to wash your hands, and remember that Black Lives Matter.